can you hear me firstly? You can hear me. Okay. So have you ever felt that you were really scared and you didn't know how you were going to get through something? You didn't even know if you were going to make it or if you were going to survive even. It was April 2007, and that was when my life was changed forever. I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and my life was turned upside down. Without treatment, I had a few weeks to a few months to live. With treatment, I needed to have a bone marrow transplant. Without it, I only had 5% chance of survival. So I couldn't go back home. I had to stay in Brisbane and start treatment immediately. The Leukemia Foundation found a unit in Brisbane for Mum and I. Mum and Dad moved up from Sydney in order to be with us. And Dad stayed with the girls, who were 3 and 10 at the time, and my husband on the Gold Coast. And he had started a new business, and the girls were going to school down there. So it was a crisis on many levels. It was a health crisis, a financial crisis. I had to stop work. There wasn't much money coming in with his business, and an emotional crisis, being away from them for a very long time. So I had to have one of the most intensive chemotherapies available. It was supposed to be for 6 months, but we couldn't find a donor, so it ended up being for 8 months. And that was at the Princess Alexandra. Now, the chemo was hard, but, you know, there was it was isolated and lots of viruses and infections. But compared to the bone marrow transplant, the chemo was a piece of cake. So they had to find me a donor. They eventually found one from Germany, a male donor. God bless his soul. He was my best chance of survival. He wasn't a good match, but he was my best chance. And because of that, that set me up for a lot of complications. So they moved Mum and I to the leukemia village. They found a unit for us there. And that was, they provided transport to and from the hospital, which is so great because you're so weak after the transport. You're so physically weak. And so thank God for that. And we'd go, you know, for treatment daily. I'd go for treatment daily. Now, there was a bit more chemo, very high dosage, shorter duration though, and radiation. There was 3 days of 1 hour whole body radiation. And it's designed to wipe out everything, not just your bad cells, but your good cells as well. And this is where the danger lies, because you're so susceptible to catch anything, because your whole immune history is wiped out in order to prepare for the bone marrow of the donor cells. So you're isolated for long, long periods of time because, you know, you're very vulnerable to catch anything. You have no immune system. For a long time, for about 6 to 8 weeks, I was fed intravenously because all my insides were burnt from the radiation. And I was just so happy to be able to eat again. And there was a lot of complications. The first one was graft versus host, which is a common side effect with the transplant, which is where your body realizes the donor's cells are foreign and they start attacking it. So they hit you with steroids, high doses, which causes other problems like steroid-induced diabetes. So the list is long of what I've gone through. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I will tell you some things. My eyes were damaged from the treatment. I had to have 4 eye operations. I almost went blind. My left kidney was damaged from a virus. And as I mentioned, the high doses of steroids, steroid-induced diabetes twice. Constant setbacks and constant complications over the coming years. I take 5 steps forward only to get some virus or infection and have to take 10 steps back. And this to me was the hardest thing of all, because I would get to a good place and then something would happen and I'd have to start again, try and climb that mountain again. And this just happened over and over. So 2 years later, I got to a decent place. When I got home, I was so weak, I couldn't walk up the stairs. My lungs were so weak after the transplant that I couldn't walk very far. And for many years, I'd have to inhale antibiotics or inhale into a machine to help build up my lungs. But when I got home, I started walking, started going on my kayak, and I started riding my bike, and eventually I got back to the gym. It was extremely difficult. I was dealing with chronic fatigue. The chronic fatigue I had was out of this world. I've never experienced anything like it. It took me about 8 to 10 years to get on top of that. So one day when I was on the kayak, because we used to live on the water in the Gold Coast, and I got an idea I would love to write a book. You know, I would love to be able to help people with the techniques that I've learned. So there began the process of writing this book, Stronger, You Can Overcome and Bounce Back from Adversity. It took about 5 years. It was 5 years in the making. 2 years later, I had another big setback. In 2009, I got very, very sick. I got pneumonia and I almost died. I had my last rites read to me in hospital, and apparently I had suffered a mild stroke as well. So another setback, you know, another mountain to climb. But I tried my best when I got home again, and because I was dealing with fatigue, it was really hard to look after myself, let alone the girls and the household. So it was very, very challenging. But I persisted, and I was really excited with, you know, this vision of writing this book, and that kept me going, and the girls kept me going. So 10 years later, I reached a really, really good place. I was fit and strong and healthy. I felt fantastic. I was with a new partner and I was happy. And I was delivered another turn, and I was diagnosed with a secondary cancer, a result from the treatment that I had for the leukemia, the radiation, that said. And I was devastated. I was so angry. I couldn't talk to anyone, and until I got my head around what happened. Because I thought, how can this happen to me again after everything that I've been through? But we need to make choices, and we're the ones that are responsible for how we move forward and how we react to the events in our life. It's not what happens to us, it's how we react. Are you going to be happy or bitter? Are you going to be a victim or a victor? So we need to make choices along the way and do everything that we can. Research shows that we are facing an epidemic. Cancer, suicide, depression, anxiety, and they've become an epidemic on a global scale. And now we have this crisis with the COVID. And I have a vision that the techniques in my book, Stronger, will help change lives and save lives. They have saved mine, and they have helped thousands of others. The techniques are backed by research as proven, scientifically proven to work. So my mission is now I want to help people. You know, I'm an author and a speaker, and I speak at conferences, and on the radio and wherever I can to share my message of help people build resilience and empowering and inspiring others. So I want to share with you my strong techniques. It's an acronym. There's 6 letters and it's set an intention, the word strong. Take action. Reprogram your negative thoughts to positive thoughts to change your beliefs. Be an overcomer. Keep getting up. Never lose your faith because you will be tested. And be grateful for what is happening in your life. It's tested me on every level, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And it even tested my marriage. And after 28 years together, me and my husband ended up separating. And it was devastating to me because I was alone since the first time since I was 18, and I had no income, and I was functioning on 3 cylinders while this happened. But we can redream. We need to reignite our hope again, reignite our faith again, and reignite your dreams again. You're a lot stronger than you think. So awaken your power and awaken the warrior within. And be the warrior, because you can get through and overcome any crisis, and not just survive, but thrive.